how it sounds.
Yeah, you sound a little. All right, so we're live, Rob.
Okay.
Okay.
Trying to think here how I could do this.
The lavalier doesn't necessarily.
No, it doesn't work that great, but I have one. So here, let me switch over to it really quick and see if it if it still works.
All right, that camera's definitely out of focus. This camera isn't. That looks better.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, but it doesn't sound as good as your mic.
Yeah. Well, this is a bigger issue around.
Actually, you sound real echoey.
Like what?
You sound real echoey.
Echoey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like you're on a laptop mic. But
interesting. Yeah. Well, here, let me hold it here and just see if it's.
No, that's better. This
is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Hey, those of you, I guess we're kind of live. Rob's fixed, testing a microphone here. We'll start the official show in just a second. But
here, I'll go back to
the regular mic. Yeah, and when you go back to the regular mic, tap on it and make sure we've got the right one.
It's got a big foam pad on it, so tapping on it doesn't work too well.
Okay, so, I think you're on the right mic.
Yeah, so I should be. Yeah, I should be on the right mic. So, yeah.
All right, now I got to get this. Hang on here a second. It doesn't matter because I'm not going to change this camera, but the other camera's a little bit out of focus. All right, let's get going. Oh, what the hell just happened here? Let's go back to that. And okay, it's drifting is what's going on. So yeah, I can't set autofocus this morning. Let me go back. Oh, I'm getting better and better here.
Yeah, you are.
Come on. Okay, now I'll just do it one tweak there. All right, I should be good. Hopefully it won't drift anymore. Hey everyone, welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran, and Rob and I are. I'm white balance cameras. Things are out of focus. Rob's trying microphones. Yeah. Hey, we're back.
We are.
How are you, Rob?
Doing okay, Todd. Hanging in there. Doing good. We're in the summer stretch, which normally we would be jetting around going to events.
Yes, indeed. And we took 3 shows off. That was my fault. I needed a break. And a break I had, and it was I'm about 95% no email, 95% no social media, 95% no connection to the world. It was good. It was really good. So it was a nice break. So while the rest of you have all been I guess for a better word, working, I've been slacking. So
it's and things have continued to progress on many fronts out there.
Yeah,
while you've been out of the pocket, so to speak. So yeah,
and what was
going on?
And it wasn't like I was still probably an hour or 2 in the morning checking emails, and once in a while checking in on Slack when I could. It wasn't like I was completely disconnected. But one thing that we have just been crushed, as a matter of fact, we're scratching our head a little bit, is the music stuff. The the takedown notices have been, literally. Well, I will say this. I said we probably received the most number of takedown notices we've seen in the last 2 years. I'll take that back. We've seen in the last week to 2 weeks the highest number of takedown notices probably in 15 years combined.
Yeah, that's what Lipson's been seeing too. We have a lot of it. I would imagine it's across the industry right now,
and some of it from older shows that are still online from years ago,
right?
That are now being targeted.
Yeah, because a lot of those older shows were taking a lot of liberties with playing full track music.
Well,
And some of the platforms kind of catered to that a little bit. My former employer, Spreaker, had a real issue with it because it did live audio streaming. So yeah, and that's typically where it happened a lot.
and a lot of people use our stats that don't use our hosting service, but because they see our media, they don't understand that's not where the media is hosting. We get takedown notices for media that we're not even hosting. So we've now got a whole dialogue we send back to the notification service and say, listen, we are a measurement service. The media is hosted here. You're going to have to go there. And that usually results in two or three email things going back and forth. So it's quite annoying, to be frank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think we knew this was coming because I think it was maybe 3 or 4 months ago, there was an announcement of I think a company that was forming a search engine that was going to start looking for copyrighted music and podcasts. So I can't remember what that service was. I don't know, Todd, if you remember or not.
I don't. And, in order to maintain my safe harbor stuff, we see takedowns coming from like one show will get 10.
Well, it's probably for each music track
for each
they find,
for each episode. And so what do I do then? Technically I cannot go back and look at their content, but we're trying now to determine, okay, how many takedown notices do we need from a single show before we terminate their service? Or do I just take the content, or sometimes it is hosted with us. Do I take the content down and just, where's, at what point? I don't know. We haven't decided on that. We're not terminating anybody yet. But
yeah. I mean, it does violate our terms of service, right?
Yeah.
Both of our platforms, I believe it violates the terms of service. But I think that the Libsyn terms of service is a little bit more flexible on this topic from the standpoint of hosting, but because it is kind of the content creator's responsibility, really, more than it is the hosting platform. Because like you said, Todd, to maintain our safe harbor, we kind of have to be out of the content business to some degree on this.
Yeah. And I'm not going to go, if I get 10 from one show, technically I'm to maintain safe harbors. I can't go look at shows 11 through 30 and specifically see if I go specifically looking for copyrighted content, then, I've lost my safe harbors. I could lose my safe harbors. And matter of fact, we've explicitly told the team, do not go looking at these shows. Do not go, we'll look at the episode that's been reported.
Right.
And we will comply with DMCA, but do not go looking at their other episode.
So Todd, let's talk about that a little bit deeper. What does that really mean? Don't go looking. Is it more of a platform programmatic looking, or is it human looking? Is what violates safe harbor?
Well,
I think if you look at like a YouTube, right? They've built algorithms that look for things like this, just like what the search engine is doing.
Yeah.
It's not like we're building technologies to detect certain types of content violations or whatever in our platform. I don't know if the safe harbor gets violated if one of your employees goes listens to 3 or 4 episodes.
Well,
I'm saying,
I think if they go back and say, "Hey, this guy's doing nothing but copyrighted music," he's violating our terms of service.
Right.
There's again, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not even going to try to read to.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think we want to be in that realm of being a policeman, right?
No.
It's the same thing that we go through with hate speech, and all this kind of stuff like that. I think all of us would like to maintain our platforms as free speech platforms.
Mm-hmm.
That's our ideal scenario, but sometimes we get put in situations where it's hard to maintain that free speech thing, because sometimes that free speech kind of crosses some lines that are, either illegal or could be harmful or whatever. And I know the big social platforms are really dealing with this right now in a big way. Fortunately, podcasting really hasn't had to deal with this issue quite as much.
Well, I think ultimately we are going to. Well, it's going to be, if this continues at this rate. I'm using a lot of man hours here. To deal with this.
Well, and it gets back to, let's be proactive about this. And I believe that the podcast music folks are trying to be proactive about this, but it's just not happening fast enough.
Yep.
And this enforcement's going to probably lead the compliance side, right? So, that's an unfortunate result. But I think, Todd, you and I have known that this day was coming for a good 10 years now.
And based upon
right,
some legal stuff that we've had to comply with people being financially impacted by their actions. I think when people start getting bills, pay us this much because you did this, when they start getting $100,000 bills from the RIAA, or $200,000 or $1 million fines, and say pay or we will see you in court.
Right.
People better wake up. We keep, I can't even count how many times I put in Facebook forums talking about this, and yet people want to argue. They want to argue. This is bullshit. We should be able to do this. I'm not changing, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah, and
right. I mean, some of this stuff really impact archive shows a lot, I think.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, shows that are out of production now but are still available,
mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I know of a couple, that were kind of formatted like radio shows,
right?
that had not full track, but played like snippets from copyrighted music in their intros and exits and things like that. That was more formatted like radio. Because I mean, if you look back in time at the podcasting industry, definitely a certain amount of probably more percentage of the shows were formatted a little bit more like radio than what we consider to be kind of a pure play podcast.
Yep.
That we have today. I think the industry has evolved a little bit more towards unique content being created in podcasting, where I think back when I started in this, I came from radio, right? So I was able to play snippet copyrighted music in my radio show, right?
Yep.
And the truth is some of that stuff made it into my podcast too.
Right.
But it was usually like maybe 5 or 10 seconds worth of music. But that still violates stuff. So even the archives that I have of my old show may be a little on the edge on this.
Well, what we're seeing too is I'm looking at the titles. I'm looking at the links, and I can see some information and metadata that gives me an indication of what type of show it is, and a lot of music shows, and also shows that are repurposed radio programming that is current, the new stuff. Basically, radio stations taking Drive and putting it in there, and they've got 5 damn tracks of music in there. Right.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be really, really interesting to see, because I'm sure those radio folks think that, well, it was part of the content production on the radio side. I should be able to put it in content that I put online.
And not only that, it triggers 5 RIAA takedowns for a single episode, and I have to respond to each of those all 5 of those for a single file.
Right.
The paperwork, here's the next question is, do I change my terms of service to say that if we have to respond to a takedown notice for your content for using our service, do I charge you? Because it's truly, I'm using a lot of manpower now to remove content. Process 10, 15 minutes to process one of these. That's minimum. Number one, you got to take the media down. You got to lock it out, or put something in to block the link. Number two, I got to respond to and some of that is cut and paste. Respond to the takedown notice. Then I get a response to the response that I have to respond to.
Right.
Then I have to send an email to the content creator because they have the right to say, nope, it's not copyrighted content. I'm protesting. I'm invoking my DMCA right. Put that media back up. And then if they do that, we have to put the media back online.
Right.
And then we get another response back from that starts a whole different legal process.
Right. That's when they decide to get serious with you. Right.
Well, they don't get serious with me. The person has
the content creator.
The content creator has said, I'm going to fight.
Right.
And then that goes back and forth. And if the content creator loses that round, it just, people don't understand.
Yeah.
So
it's ugly. And it's going to potentially if you want to keep up your archives, you may have to go back in there and edit your audio.
Well, it's taken down. We take the media offline.
No, but the content creator could certainly do that, right?
Right.
If they don't want to take it down, they could go back in and edit all the music out.
That's right.
And it may be something that proactively folks that have content that they produced in the past that has music in it that you don't really want to have taken down, that you go back in and editing on. And for some people, that's going to be a huge project. So some of these shows have hundreds of episodes.
And because we've got some compliance tracking we have to do.
Right.
My lawyer is having to put an entry in the spreadsheet, put an entry about the account holder, blah, blah, blah. We got this paperwork trail we have to do. So 15 minutes is, each individual person's part might be a little bit, a minute, 2 minute here, but it's boom, 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 boom. And I didn't, and again, sometimes I'm not even hosting the doggone media. I'm just measuring it.
Right. Yeah.
And then the rights holders gets confused. Well, where's this media at? And we're like, okay, see this part of the URL, this .com?
Right.
Now you need to go to their
especially if they're self-hosted.
Right. And a lot of these folks are self-hosted.
Right.
Especially those that are doing music are self-hosted. So then they have to go over to you almost have to educate the person that's filing the takedown. And the initial response comes by a bot. The bot just kicks them out. And then when you respond, it gets to a real person at some point. But it's dumb.
Yep. Yeah, it's a serious problem, and it really hasn't been talked about much in the industry. So this little talk that we're having right now is really some of the first that I've heard anybody talk about it publicly.
And it's onesie twosies weren't bad, and that's what it was onesie twosies. You get 1 or 2 a week or something. But I'm getting 20, 25, 30 a day.
And so what organization are they coming from? Is it a law firm or is it?
It's, from everything I can tell, it's it is some company that is doing this on behalf of the label. That's what it appears to me. And so, here's the game they're playing. It's like Santa Claus. They're keeping a list. And they're checking it twice and 3 times. And hey, the compliance of us taking stuff down, that alleviates our liability.
Right.
We're good. We're not going to get sued because we're not going to get hammered by the rights holders because it wasn't our fault. But they're taking that list of those people and those content creators, and they're keeping a list, and then you get too many violations. I can absolutely guarantee you then what will follow next is they say, well, what do we have here? We've got someone that's got 5 copyright violations. And the next thing I get is they either get a "you will pay us" claim, the person, or they send us a legal request and asking us how many downloads did that episode have, or how many plays.
Well, it also gets serious if the show is monetizing too, right? That elevates it a little bit.
It does, but
yeah.
the fine here's what people forget. It's not that you just played it, and not that you put it in the content once. Each and every time someone downloads that file,
right,
it's an incremental. So if it's $100,000 per violation, and you've had 1,000 downloads, well, there's a bill you can never pay. And they're going to come to you and say, you owe us $10 million. But we'll settle for 50,000.
Right.
And they're going to get their 50,000 because they could have got 10 million. They are going to get, let me repeat this, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't think these folks are serious, they are going to get their $50,000 out of you. You'll have to mortgage your house. You'll sell your house. They'll put a lien on everything you have. They'll take your paycheck. Do not fuck with these people. I cannot make it more clear.
Right.
Do we remember the Napster days? People were doing stuff. And so individuals that were on sharing content were getting hundreds and thousands. They settled for much less money, but they settled for much less money. And they got their money.
But it's still a boatload of money that most podcasters don't want to give
up. and they are going to, by the way, you're going to have to get a lawyer. You're going to have to get a lawyer. And it's going to cost you, a rights holder lawyer, $400 or $500 an hour. Yep. If you guys, you need to listen. I know this audience is listening, but how do we get other podcasters to listen?
It hasn't even been talked about in the industry that I've seen. Any of the publications or anything, any of the newsletters. Nobody's talking about it yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be an issue that's only going to grow.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm just,
I mean, you can gamble and let stuff ride, or you can be proactive about it. I think that's the choice that we all have to make about this, is realize that we got away with it for a long time to some degree, and now the moment of reckoning has arrived.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to think about it.
And I'm just looking here at all the emails. Abuse report, 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 abuse report.
Right.
Case number. Case number, case number, case number. Our response, taken down, no longer linked, no longer linked, taken down, no longer linked. Duplicate request. I'm looking at email right now. I'm just right in front of me.
And they don't even ask for you to remove it from the.
Oh, you have to take it down.
Right. Take the whole content
piece down. Take the whole thing down.
Right. That's why if you're proactive about it and remove it before you get a takedown notice, then you can probably come back and say, well, it's no longer in there, but that may be too late.
No, I have a 24-hour window to reply. my actual service account with my hosting provider can be affected if I do not respond. If I do, and this is including weekends, request comes in Saturday, I have to respond within 24 hours so they can shut my service down.
Right.
They will go back to say if we don't respond, they will go back to our service provider and say, hey, they didn't respond. Please shut them down, and they'll shut down. So what happens to me then? All of a sudden, 80,000 podcasters are like, hey, Blueberry, what's going on?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
God forbid you miss one.
And the other part of this too, Todd, is that this could turn into a big money grab for the music industry too. You know, that's the
these folks are not having media taken down and sending copyright violation requests. This is minimi, and that's a word small. This is a little itty bitty piece of what's going on globally. So what they're doing is they are building a list.
Right.
See who's been naughty and who's been nice, and those who've been naughty, stand by.
Right. Yeah.
When people start talking, oh my God, I got a summons in the email to request me, or not a summons, but they'll send you a nice letter first. And that letter will come and it'll basically say, you have violated, you've had a copyright violation of this song, this song, this song, this song. Here to provide all the links, screenshots. Oh, they're very efficient. Screenshots of everything. Able to download this media. We are able to download this media file here, there. And by the way, here to stop further action. To stop further action on this, write me a check for this amount.
Right.
And you have 10 days. You have 10 days to say, I'll write you a check, or no, I'm going to fight you. And if you say, no, I'm going to fight you, then guess what happens? You go to court.
Right. The bill gets higher.
That's it. It's it. You don't pay. If you don't pay, fine. It's okay. The next thing will come is a guy knocking on the door that will serve you legal papers,
right?
Which they paid $500 to do, which will get tacked onto your bill when you have to settle with them.
Right.
I don't know how much more clearer we can be on this.
Yeah, this is pretty pretty scary for a lot of old time podcasters right now. So,
and they're going back and having media removed that was published in 2005. Huh.
Right.
What did I put? So my episode 1 and episode 2 are gone, Rob. Gone. They've been gone for more than 10 years. Why did episode number 1 and 2, why are they gone? Why are they no longer existing on the planet? Because it was open with AC/DC Back in Black.
Right.
And my stupidity, I played 30 to 40 seconds.
Right.
And I am not, I realized early on, that was dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't play that much of any music.
I'm trying not to be a Debbie Downer here. Yeah. I'm sorry, but they're getting Rob, how many you guys getting?
I haven't heard a number yet, but it's been coming in pretty steadily, and we talked about it on the call on Thursday, right? That it's been the steady flow of these coming in. Yeah.
Captivate, same thing, steady flow. They're a new company.
Right.
And they're getting them.
Right.
Tons, metric tons of anchor shows. Because we got a lot of anchor shows that measure with us. Tons of them are getting takedowns.
Yeah. I would imagine that same thing is happening to Spreaker too. Todd, I just happened to notice something.
Sure.
I wanted to run it by you, not to change the subject entirely.
I
think we've been pretty clear on this.
Yeah, and we've killed the dead horse here. Go ahead.
Yeah. I noticed that Podbean is now IAB compliant.
No, that came as a big surprise.
But what's even more surprise is when I go to their compliance page that they have on their blog, blog.podbean.com, they have a logo that says Standards Compliant IAB Tech Lab Verified. So did the IAB change their word? I thought it was certified.
It's certified compliant is what it is.
Well, Podbean has a logo that says compliant, and then the ribbon strip at the bottom says verified.
So where you found that at where?
Off of Podbean's blog.
So blog. Oh, okay. All
blog.podbean.com.
right, I'm looking at the article here. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I think I'm going to take a screenshot of that.
Can you pull that up on your screen?
Yeah, that is not the logo.
So either Podbean kind of edited their own version of this. This is not the icon
No.
that everybody else is using that I'm aware of.
No. And
I mean,
no,
it's not necessarily a bad idea.
But it says verified instead of
certified.
Let me go look at our. What is?
No, it says certified on our.
Yeah. So let me go to. Hang on. This is the problem. Let me go to the page because the official logo looks like this. Measurement standards compliant. That's the logo.
Oh, it doesn't even say. I thought it said certified on there, but I guess it
No,
doesn't.
you're certified compliant.
But it doesn't say certified.
No, it's never. That's been my big bitch from the beginning. It's never said certified. Because remember, you're being certified that you are compliant.
Right.
Not that you are, verified compliant. They put verified compliant on there.
Okay, but the whole logo is different.
Well, what they did is they added a ribbon at the bottom.
No, they actually changed the wording at the top of the logo too. It says standards compliant, where the other one says measurement standards.
That's interesting.
Compliant.
Yeah, there's something there.
Okay. I mean, did the IAB change their?
I'm going to ask them.
Change their logo?
Yeah. We took some liberty and changed on one of the. We changed because we basically removed the orange and put blue in. So we actually up here, or whatever this color is, red, where it says measurement standards, we put blue in there to match some branding stuff, but we didn't change the logo itself. But that's interesting. Well, I wonder,
sure
Podbean folks, did your numbers change?
What's that?
I wonder if anybody's using Podbean, if they'll tell us or not if their numbers change.
Well, let's go to the IAB website.
Oh yeah,
IAB.
Let's see. It's IB Tech Lab, Rob. So
Right.
IAB Tech Lab compliant.
Tech Lab
compliant standard.
And pull up the section that they have on podcast working groups.
Well,
compliance programs.
So they only have one logo. See, now let me take you to see, here is the IAB, Technology Standards Compliant. They have.
It says technology is what that one says.
So let me see here if I can find podcast compliance. They don't have a logo in here on this page.
They don't want to share it or something?
Well, there's only one place that I found. Let's see, where are there?
Yeah, there's a page on here. I just can't find it. Buried.
Oh, they got something new on here on pricing. Oh, these numbers aren't right. $10,000, I wish.
Right. Yeah, it's not obvious how to find this on this page.
Yeah, if I take 5 minutes, I'll find it. But again, I did find, they say technology standards compliant IB Tech Lab. So maybe they have some more. Yeah. But again, it's compliant companies. And then we got podcast compliant. So we got
Measure.
Blueberry, NPR, Voxnest, Art19, Wooska, Libsyn, Triton, Podtrack, Simplecast, Acast, Spreaker, Empire Streaming. Don't even know who those guys are. Chartable, Omni, Studio, Captivate, Megaphone, and Podbean. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 companies. So that's a pretty good list here so far.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it doesn't show the official logo, does it?
no.
Anywhere on their website.
I'll have to find it. But so, ladies and gentlemen, there's some serious money been spent in that list.
Yeah.
Some serious money.
Yeah, because the logo that we're using, trying to find it on our site.
I think you're using the same one we are.
Yeah. Yeah, because we were part of the first group of platforms.
So I think they just took some liberties there. And, but it is an interesting spin on how they did that.
Yeah.
And I haven't read their certification report. That's always that's the fun thing to read. And what's supported and not supported. And that, actually, believe it or not, the first report that everyone got to see, that was our report, had lots of detail. I mean, lots of detail. And everyone got a lot of insight into that. And then they said, someone complained that it was too detailed. And then they just changed it to say supported or non-supported. It didn't have any of the detailed explanation. So it kind of pissed us off because we gave everyone a roadmap of all these details. And so it is what it is. But
yeah. Yeah, I think, we are using the same logo that you are.
Yeah.
So Podbean just kind of invented their own icon.
Right. Which surprises me not at all.
Right. Okay.
And not in the least.
Right. And one of the other things that happened while we were off was Podcast Movement canceled their event.
Yep. And they're going to a multi-week virtual summit.
Right.
And we have to resubmit our sessions.
Right. And we now have 2 virtual events that are claiming to be the world's largest.
Which I see you guys sponsored, so you guys acquiesced and paid the big money, huh?
I guess I wasn't that involved in the deal, so it's just yeah. I mean, we'll see which event, Podfest or Podcast Movement, it achieves the goal of being the world's largest event.
I'm sure there's a little bit of a rivalry going on there. Did I say that right? Yeah.
Rivalry?
Yes, rivalry.
Rivalry.
Yeah, just one of those words that never comes out of my mouth, right? So, and I don't know if he's officially doing a Guinness Book of World Records run. You have to be careful in saying that you are, because you have to have an officially sanctioned event. Because I often say that GoDaddy's, and I say it tongue in cheek, because the longest is if there was a Guinness Book of World Records for the longest sponsor of a podcast, GoDaddy would be it with my show. I say that. I said if there was.
If
but,
there was, right.
But Chris is actually saying he's going for a Guinness Book of World Records. Well, did you pay Guinness to do that? Because Guinness doesn't do those for free.
Well, it's almost like it's a pre-promotion for something that he has. I mean, he's claiming that he's going to set a world record, but
Right.
And he's using their logos and stuff too. That's the thing.
Well, then he must be paying to have this event measured.
Yeah, I'm a Guinness Book World Record holder myself. So.
Oh, really? For what?
Building the world's largest glass of orange juice.
Okay, well, you did it for a company, so it's not really your name on it, is it?
No, my name is on the on the certificate.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
And so is the company.
How much did that cost you guys to get that done back in the day?
To get the glass built?
No, to get the Guinness people out and measure.
It didn't cost any money at all.
Really?
I just had to have the measurements certified by an independent measurement company to come in and do that, and to create a little report that they sent to Guinness with photographs and pictures and things like that.
Well, typically now I think you have to pay.
Yeah, you probably do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I set the record back in 1998.
Well, that wasn't too long ago.
So it's actually all online if you just do a search for the world's largest glass of orange juice.
Was it real orange juice?
Yeah.
How many oranges did you guys?
Well, this glass created a math book problem that was put in all the Florida school math books back in the day to calculate how many oranges had to be squeezed to fill this glass.
And how many was it?
I don't know. I never did the math on it. But yeah, it was filled multiple times by Tropicana. So
would they bring a semi in and?
No, actually, it came on. The orange juice came in like 2 pallets, like bag, like wine,
right? Bag in a wine,
bag in a box, essentially. But it was a pallet,
right?
So each bag in a box had about 350 gallons of pasteurized Florida orange juice.
So you hooked up a garden hose to these bags and squeezed it in, right?
Right. Go to do a search in Google, Todd, and you can pull it up if the audience wants to see what this looks like.
What is it again?
The world's largest glass of orange juice. So yeah, there's a whole video up and everything about it. That was on a news program.
Ultimate Citrus. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah. So it was. And if you scroll down, it actually.
Oh, I see your Rob Greenlee, Florida Department of Citrus.
Yeah. Right.
Were you living in Florida at the time?
No, I was living in Seattle. So
that's funny. But
yeah, I spent 5 years working for them. So
I can tell you some stories about citrus.
Yeah, you can, huh?
Yeah, my mom was a produce broker. So
yeah. I used to work with fresh citrus and orange juice and all that, and grapefruit juice. Yeah.
So I woke up yesterday morning, Rob.
Yeah.
And I went to my shower and I turned it on and there was no water. And I live in the country. And
so your well died.
Our well pump died. And my sister was just getting ready to back out of the driveway to go to Mackinac Island with her and her kids. And I'm like, good time to leave. Although she did the phone calling to find someone to come rescue.
Right.
So the only person that was available was a 70-year-old guy that we basically have used for years. He's done a lot of well work, but he didn't put in the well that's currently in. Mm-hmm. And he said, I can be over in 30 minutes. I'm like, my God, nobody comes in 30 minutes. And he got there, and I have replaced well pumps before. And it's not that complicated. But he got there, and he says, that a 4-inch pipe or 5-inch pipe? And I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't here when they drilled it. He measured it. And it was 4 inch. He said, oh, shit. So.
Oh. Yeah. So how deep was your well?
It's not bad, 50 feet. So it wasn't like I was pulling 500 feet of pipe. But the problem is it's not the 50 feet. It's the first 3 feet. Because these pumps, if no one's seen them, are about 3 feet long. And they're just shy of 4 inches around. So when they go down the pipe, there's not a lot of space.
Right.
Well, having it set at the bottom of the well, him and I, my shoulders are burning today because we are doing this, for about an hour, an inch at a time, pull it up. And then finally it broke free after he got up 3 feet. This 70-year-old dude was an ox. This guy, hey, you think you're a tough guy? No way. This dude, I would not ever want to get in a fist fight with this guy because he would pummel me to the ground. The 70-year-old buff dude that's always been doing his well work his whole life. And he showed this pup. He kept calling me Grandpa. Come on, Grandpa. Get with it here. Help me here. So, yeah, $1,000 later, we had water in the afternoon.
Oh, good.
Not that anybody cares here. But
hey, water is important to have. I'll tell you that. Right.
Yeah. And then there's water going to like 3 different places. So I flushed for 2 hours before we got all the brown out. And
right.
And I told my sister, I said, enjoy Mackinac Island. Have fun up there. And tell my brother-in-law, you jerk, you missed all the fun.
Yeah. Wow.
And most of these guys come in with a rig and just pull it out. But him and I did it the old-fashioned way. We manhandled it out. Yeah,
I've seen that done before. They usually have like pump houses. Yeah, the roofs come off of the pump houses, and then it's like this big scaffolding thing goes right down the middle of the pump house. They
have service trucks that come up, and all they do is they hook up to it, and they just winch it out. Pull it out. It's not two guys, up, down, trying to break this thing free.
Yeah. I mean, because some of those wells are a couple hundred feet, 200 or 300 feet down.
My one, Barry Gansma, our CFO, his is 500 feet.
Right.
So he had to have there's no way you're pulling 500 feet. And mine was put in with, it's basically plastic. It's called SF80. It's a threadable plastic pipe. And we replaced all the pipe. And but yeah, I got education on how wellheads, these new when I was a kid, all we did is had a casing and then a thing that went in the ground. And then the pump was in the basement. And not anymore. That's not the case. So
the pumps are down in the bottom of the well.
And we have real rusty water. So this thing only lasted 7 years. They're supposed to last 20 years. So it's not a good sign.
No,
but anyway, that was my yesterday.
Hey, Todd, did you see this, the article in Pod News about non-English podcasts launches overtakes English ones?
Yeah, saying that I saw that, and I don't know. They're saying that more foreign language podcasts than English based are being created right now.
Yeah.
How do you? I had a guy that's doing a master's degree request information from us. He wanted to know basically what the breakup was, and it's really hard to be able to, because most people in podcasting today submit their shows to the American-based podcast directory. And so unless you look at the language setting in the feed, it's really hard to discern non-US, because you've got lots of multiple language. You've got people that are doing Spanish. You've got all kinds of different languages here in the United States. So how do you?
Well, sometimes you should be able to tell by the cover art
Yeah, that's true. But you can't go
and
through
by
and
the titles and things like that. So,
Rob. You want to go through and count 300,000? Okay,
no,
so
no,
we have
no,
no real way
but
to know what the true breakdown by country
right,
is.
right. And I don't know how they got this data. I mean, other than trying to cull it from the metadata, but it does show a pretty exponential growth going from what is it 2019 into the beginning of 2020, almost like a tripling of the
Hmm.
number of non-English podcasts being created. Which doesn't necessarily surprise me because I mean the non-English podcasts have been pretty suppressed for a
Oh,
long time,
right,
right?
right.
So I mean, if you go back and you look at the entire chart here, it shows just a minuscule amount of non-English podcasts, and then all of a sudden, starting in about 2018, it started to go up, and it's going up rapidly now.
Hmm.
So
Well, good.
yeah,
I'd like to know how they got the data, though.
I would too, and it's not clear how they got that data.
Right.
I I was actually put out by Art19 who put it out.
Well, could okay. Never mind. Um. Hmm.
Yeah. So I didn't know Art19 was hosting a bunch of non-English podcasts, but maybe they are.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or they're scanning. I don't know. I think that the real platform to get this information out of, I would imagine, would be Apple and
Right.
Spotify and those type of platforms. Well, you've got a pretty extensive catalog yourself, Todd.
Yeah,
You
but
could
again, how
probably
do
do something.
I?
It's, I mean, but how do you determine it, right?
That's right.
Is it
And
strictly metadata?
well, we were talking about it because this PhD or master's degree candidate was looking for info and trying to break things out, and we're basically like, well, we can see by the language tag, what language it originates in. If it's German, English, if it's French, most of those folks are pretty good about setting their language tag in their feed.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it originates in France or Germany. It could be
Well, it doesn't say the origination. What it talks about is just non-English.
oh,
So that those podcasts could be made in the U.S.
they could be. So I guess we
Right.
could go through and run a yeah, that's relatively easy to run a poll, a poll of the
Right.
data to see how the breakout is.
Yeah, I'd like to know what languages are. What's the breakdown or the ranking of the
Oh,
languages? I would say it's probably going to follow pretty closely to what the population density of the world is.
I think Spanish is going to
Spanish,
come in like
Chinese.
number two. Yeah.
Right, right. So I would
Chinese,
think,
though, I don't think it's going to, there's not too many Chinese podcasts,
right,
at least not in the traditional sense, because most of the Chinese uh, podcasts, per se, are instructional because they can't have opinion shows over there without being sent to re-education camp or being disappeared.
yeah,
Think
yeah,
about that, folks. In China, you make a podcast and you state your opinion, you could disappear off the street, including your family. So,
yeah.
oh, we love what China does. Hmm.
Yeah. Well,
The
I think
government. Let's be careful here. The government. I'll be careful. The government, what the government does, not the people.
right. Though there is, if you look at what's happening in the U.S. right now, I think we're um, what's the right word? We're awash in opinion, aren't we?
Oh, awash is the word. But we're
Yeah.
awash in an opinion where people are afraid to say stuff now. Where we've moved into an era where
Right.
people are now scared to death to really say their opinion, because when they say their opinion, the social justice crowd comes in behind and destroys
Hmm.
them.
Is that that's not a form of government oppression. That's a form of yeah. That's a different animal than I think most people thought was going to happen. Right.
And this is what I hear a lot from clients that I talk to about they're going to do a show, and they say, "Well, we're going to," and I tell them, I said, "I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm encouraging you to be careful."
Right.
And that's a horrible thing to have to say, Rob. We're at a point where people are afraid to express their opinion.
Yeah, because there is a price to be paid,
Even if you're right.
and especially if you're a person that has a pretty high profile. Yeah.
So
Right.
it's if you'd have told me 10 years ago this is where we would be at today, I would have said you're crazy. But the openness of the internet allows people to you have to say one thing, just one thing, a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
And where has it went where we could have a discussion? Like my grandfather's rolling over in his grave because he was he
Well,
lived in the art of debate and playing devil's advocate and
things have
having
become so divisive and partisan,
it's not only
running in
that
both directions that
it's it's
there's
not
no middle ground anymore.
no, it's not just political stuff. It's run mill of the day stuff.
Right.
So it's went beyond politics now. It's beyond that. It's and I hear stuff come out of some people's mouths sometimes, and I'm like, whoa, you know? It sets me back in my chair a little bit. I said, did you really say that?
Right.
And you don't dare try to give a counter opinion or a counter idea
Hmm.
on whatever side of the fence you're on. I don't care at this point, but there is people are scared to say stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that, if anything else, will have more of a negative impact on podcasting than anything.
Yeah, I think it has a little bit of a chilling effect on being able to really talk about difficult societal
You
issues.
can't.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
You can't. Because you're going to be wrong. And and someone is going to take even it's because they are right and you are wrong. And there's no
Right.
middle ground.
Right. Right. Hmm.
It's an interesting time we're living in.
Yeah. Well, Todd, we're starting to see. Well, here before I jump to this next topic, Podcast Movement did announce that they're going to have their next in-person event in Nashville.
That's cool.
So coming up August 3rd through the 6th of 2021. So about a year from now,
Knock
we
on
may get
wood.
back to in-person events. I guess we shall see is the only thing you can really say about that, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that, and I did reach out to Dan Frank and invited him to join us at some point over the next couple weeks to come in and talk about what they're doing and what's happening with that. And I do want to get on Chris from Podfest too at some point, talk about what they're doing as well. But
Here's
I also wanted to mention too that I know we've been alluding to some other music platforms getting involved in podcasting, and the announcements over the last week have kind of exposed some of those coming out. I don't know if you saw that.
how
Todd.
did you well, the question really is then, did you guys accidentally or purposely leak? Because last I checked, I'm still under NDA and can't say anything.
Well, it was put out in in our knowledge base, and it was put out on social and those kind of things. It's to gather shows, and I'm talking about Amazon right now.
Right.
It's not it's not a non-public launch, but it's not the official launch of Amazon's podcasting efforts. It's a launch to the podcast community to gather content.
Well,
so
you must have a different thing going on than we do, because we're not. They're going to have a landing page. So
they have a what do you mean?
They're going to have a landing page for people to be able to submit their show.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to be. Sure.
Right.
Sure. But so they're going to announce the actual official launch of this later, right?
Later.
Right. Right. So this is just about populating their own catalog. So that's what's going on right now.
Right, but they're going to do it through podcasters. They're going to be doing it through music. They're going to be doing it through podcasters submitting to Amazon, not taking a list.
Right, exactly. They followed our advice.
Yes,
to get podcaster creator consent
right.
to getting in their catalog, and this has been something that I've been recommending to them for couple of years now. I mean, many years actually, that they have their own catalog. And
but it is going to be. It is going to be.
Gone up to, I've been to the headquarters and met with their team in the past. And Todd Pringle, who used to do the technology side for Stitcher early on, he's kind of heading up that for Amazon. So it's good to see. I'm happy that they're working on building their own catalog. So as you think about Amazon in this space, the immediate thing that I think about is the smart speaker platform that they have.
No, I've talked to them at length about that and issues with that.
Right. No, they definitely have issues there, but this is a proactive step forward.
Right.
Regard. And hopefully, as we all hope, these smart speaker platforms get in a better position where they support what I would call more personal listening versus group listening.
So the question is, how did you guys get around your disclosures by putting stuff out publicly?
They were okay with it.
Okay.
I don't know what else to say, but they were. This was all above board. There wasn't anything. I think they were a little nervous at some point in this process, but overall, I think that the goal that they had of trying to reach the podcast community, and even me talking about on this show, is a little bit part of that, right? Of trying to reach the podcast community as a primary. It's not trying to reach listeners. That's a whole nother side of this that hasn't been announced.
I was kind of shocked because I thought we were all on the same page as when we were allowed to talk about this and not. So I'll just say I'm surprised that you guys made some announcement.
Yeah.
So.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying.
Because and so let's just put it this way. Amazon's deal is not fucking exclusive to Libsyn, even though they're trying to make it appear to be.
I would never say that it was exclusive.
Okay.
I know exactly what's going on with this. So, hey, it's not exclusive. It's just that we were given the ability to tell our podcasters, and that invariably made it, something that could be found. So, and the other announcement that we made too was our distribution deal with Ghana, which is the largest music streaming platform in the small country of India. Over 150 million users on that platform. It's actually bigger than Pandora or I think it's actually,
yeah,
I don't know if it's bigger than Spotify on a global scale.
Yeah, we're working our integration with them too. So
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these things are rolling out, and there's more of this type of thing to come.
Yeah.
So it's a, what I want to say, it's just a step in a direction of podcasting being integrated into everything that's around audio consumption. Right? This is becoming a ubiquitous ubiquitous podcast listening environment, right? That's going to be global and across all these major listening platforms. So podcasting is in a great spot going forward, but it also raises a bunch of other issues that we've also talked about on the show too that complicate things too. But anyway, Todd, go ahead.
Nothing. I think what we're seeing here is at some point there will be no more announcements.
Well, I think, and I've said this before, I think once we've saturated this, and that's exactly the path that we're on. I mean, clearly everybody that would possibly want podcast content is going to have podcast content globally around the world.
Right.
So once we do hit that wall, right?
Yeah.
Where do we go from there?
Yep.
Right. What's the next innovation that's going to propel this medium forward? Because honestly, that's what has propelled this medium forward is the expansion of distribution platforms and reaching new audiences. Fortunately, Google got into the game, so that kind of addresses another big hole in the medium. Though I still don't think that they've fully deployed what is possible there, but I think it's happening though.
One thing's for sure is we have a discovery problem in podcasting.
Do we now? we can move on from that topic. No, and then the content licensing part of this with Amazon too is that Amazon's not going to embed any advertising, and they're not going to rehost your content.
Right, so, it's pass through.
Right, so that's a win for the industry right there.
Yep.
So Amazon has enough money.
And there's other things that's going to happen because obviously there are other ways to get podcasts on Amazon today.
Right. That's true.
And I've made some recommendations to the Amazon team as far as assistance in making sure that if your show is weirdly spelled, because a lot of shows cannot be found on Amazon at all, just cannot be found.
Right.
You can say it 5 ways to Sunday and it still won't come up because the pronunciation's weird. So, or you put some special character in your show.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if they come out with any type of namespace spec to be able to help with shows that are weirdly pronounced.
Yeah, I haven't heard any talk about them taking transcripts yet. But
no, nothing about transcripts yet. I'm talking about the ability.
No, but that could help with some of this to some degree.
Although there has been some interesting emails floating around about transcripts too, but we won't. I don't think we can talk about that. Unless you want to break it here on the news, you guys want to announce it.
No.
Okay.
It is. Transcript, just in a general sense, in this medium, is definitely becoming more and more important. And I think there's also the issue of closed captioning too.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole. That's yeah. We had someone. So we had someone listen to the show that said that I did not support closed captioning.
Right.
And I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be careful here, and people understand the context of that.
Right.
To do closed captioning within ADA standards cost about $10 a minute to do it correctly.
Yeah, you have to have transcripts on everything.
Well, you have to have it
accurate transcripts.
You have to have a specific format for closed captioning, and it's not a transcript. Closed captioning is its own deal.
Well, there's 2 different kinds. There's the live transcript, and then there's the pre-created transcription. So I think that's where the issue lies. So yeah, and especially around. This requirement's been around with video for for a long time.
If for video, if it's broadcast,
if it aired,
if it aired
on right.
But what is aired now?
Right.
That definition hasn't been updated. So,
well, if you actually read the ADA, it actually uses the word radio.
Right.
They don't actually use the term anything with like on demand or digital audio or none of that. I mean, of course, the law was created before any of that existed.
That's right.
So there isn't a reference. So any extension of that would come out of that word that's used in the ADA for radio.
So the question then really is can we? Because listen, we can give you an 80% solution right now, or 85, with a transcript.
There are some that are getting in the 90s.
But you're going to pay for that.
I'm not going to be specific on that, but
you're going to pay for that.
Yeah, and it's definitely a technological challenge to get much beyond like I think 93.
Right, about 93.
They've kind of hit a wall.
Yeah. This show, the transcript we get for this show is about 90%.
Right.
But
But still 93 gives you hundreds of words that are wrong.
And is not closed caption compliant.
Right.
The accuracy rate on closed captioning is different before live broadcast and pre-recorded.
Right.
When you're live, you've watched C-SPAN or anything like that, and if you've ever turned on closed captioning, you'll see that they miss a word here and there.
Oh yeah.
On that. But the difference is put on a movie and turn on closed captioning and see how accurate it is. It's accurate. Very, very accurate.
Yeah, because it's been human edited.
That's right. So
that's the only way to get to 100%.
That's right. So
human edit.
This is technically right now we're live, but we're also do post-produced.
Right.
So once we're post-produced, if we had to be closed cap, this show would not be able to go out for a week or two. If we were waiting for the closed caption file to come back from this show. I want to be able to support.
No, I think that's coming, Todd. I mean, I think one of the challenges that these transcription services have of getting accuracy is accents, and just some words are pronounced differently that have multiple meanings, and there's
the banter back and forth. Todd speaks, Rob speaks. Got to have that context in closed caption.
Right. That's true.
So
and you want that for your transcript anyway, right?
Yeah. So
a lot of these transcripts are just one massive run.
Just one massive run. Yeah. So that doesn't work for closed cap.
Right. So you really need to have. I mean, if you're going to use these things, you really need to have some punctuation in there too. And some of them will give you punctuation, but that's an extra process, though.
That's right. And to be truly closed caption compliant, you have to have second by second, word by word accuracy.
Right.
So what will be accepted? You know, if I'm hearing, let's say I'm vision impaired, then I want that accuracy to be pretty high. Because I can't read lips if I'm seeing a video, and I can't read lips because we're behind a microphone, or it's an audio program and there's no video to go along with it. You know, so all these connotations. So I know folks that listen to podcasts, they've got their own tools to semi-real time make stuff come back on Braille readers and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. There is a huge challenge here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think these are opportunities, but yet they're the challenge that the industry is gonna ultimately face. And I always wonder too, Todd, if eventually we're gonna face challenges from the FCC too. I don't. You know,
I'm not so worried about them. I'm more worried about not worried, but trying to figure out how do we because from the very beginning, at least Blueberry, we were very cognizant of making sure that everything that we did from our online systems was JAWS compliant. Basically, when someone came to our website and was using a screen reader, using our tools, that this was all, and we worked really hard to make sure that everything that we utilized on our website, even, as a matter of fact, we had 2-3 weeks ago, we had a complaint come in that something wasn't working correctly in JAWS in one of our players.
Mhm.
And so we immediately become number one priority for the dev team. They fix it. We did a turnaround in about 12 hours. We got it fixed because we wanted to make sure that the folks that were vision impaired that were coming in, that were using JAWS or an equivalent tool on our website, were able to use our services. And that's why we have a real high number of folks that are blind that use Blueberry podcasting. And I'm sure you guys have went through the whole thing too. And then so the next round then is, how do you serve the hearing impaired?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And this is where really the closed caption stuff. Well, it's, and God forbid you're vision and hearing impaired, but let's say you're hearing impaired. And then, so what do? We have they're able to see the app. It's a totally different issue. They can see the app, but they can't hear the sound. They have to go find the transcript to actually enjoy the show. And this is why this is going to be, and we have to figure out how to fix it. But again, the accuracy is the problem, and cost. If the hearing impaired community, how do I say this without pissing everybody off? The majority of podcasters cannot afford to have a closed caption quality transcript of their podcast. If it's a requirement that we have to have closed caption accuracy of a podcast, it will add hundreds of dollars per episode, maybe thousands of dollars per episode cost to the production.
Todd, I don't think in the long run this is going to be a problem, for the simple reason that these big platforms are going to make transcripts available.
But again, Rob, we have to be careful here. A transcript is not closed caption compliant.
Right. No, I just think that all these big platforms, these big listening platforms, are going to have to do this too. This really doesn't impact us as hosts as much as it impacts
creators.
These big listening platforms.
No, it affects creators.
No, but I'm saying like Spotify and Apple.
Right.
Those are the listening platforms, right? Those are where these people are going to listen. So who's got to display it?
Apple's going to say, Apple's going to tell the creator, you're going to have to provide this. Right. If you want true, if you want true closed caption quality, then
but Apple and Google and Spotify and Sirius XM now, Pandora, they're pulling transcripts, right? They're making transcripts. How accurate they are is a whole other question, right?
Therein is every one of our podcasters at Blueberry gets a transcript of their episode for free. It's included by our partner.
Right.
But again, it is a transcript.
Your point is that transcript isn't compliant with ADA standards for closed caption.
No, it's not.
So what that means is we're going to get transcripts from these big platforms, and there's conversations about making these available, and then it gets back to, well, how do we get it? How do we make that incremental change to these that makes them usable for closed captions? And that's going to be a benefit to these big listening platforms too. So who's responsible for this ultimately? Is it the content creator or is it the listening platform?
By the ADA, the content creator is.
But if the content creator can't do it,
then you can't put the media out if it becomes a requirement. or you.
Well, I think it is kind of already a requirement,
Well,
just nobody's forcing
no,
it.
no. It the why it hasn't happened yet is because the way the law is written today. It's the law
Well, it
hasn't
is a
caught up.
little
The
bit
law
vague,
hasn't
right?
caught up with the modern technology.
But if Congress and the Senate go in and do
Sure.
a remodel or a revision of the ADA to modernize it,
Yep.
this would open Pandora's box, and it may be smart for everybody involved here to get ramped up on this.
Well,
I know,
I'm
I get
great.
it.
I think we're good. And let's
Right.
add a tag to the spec. We can add 2 or 3 tags. We can add a PDF. It's because you're going to, again, closed caption formatting is not a transcript.
Right.
So there's going to be
But
varying.
it could come out of
It could come out of that. Right.
So if there was more processing, if we can get the technology to 95%, is there some other technology that can get us to 100? I don't know. I think that's the big question mark in my mind.
So for the hearing impaired, the question then is, and I know the answer is going to be no, 95% is not good enough.
But technology may not be able to do it.
They don't, hey, Rob, that's why you have people that do these this is why closed caption costs $10 a minute.
I know. I agree.
Okay. So,
I mean, I think up to this point, well, I know. I mean, some podcasters feel strongly about this stuff already.
they should.
Right.
Yeah.
And many of them are making PDF files of their transcripts. They're going in and hand editing those transcripts themselves and making them available as a link off of their published episode in their show notes.
But again, it's not in a closed caption format.
No, it's not. But it's actually making an effort, right, to make a written version of what's in the audio available for those. And I don't know if there's, I haven't looked into this, if there's PDF supported readers out there.
Yep.
I guess you wouldn't need to. So, I mean, at least displaying it in an experience, right, that would be easier to read than just reading a PDF file, right?
So most closed caption comes in SCC, STL, SRT, XML, VTT, which probably people have never heard of. Format.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And you can do.
There's all sorts of different versions.
There's a whole, and YouTube supports a whole, they've got a whole thing on here that talks about the basic file format. Subrip, Subview, MSub, LRC, Videotron, Lambda.
Right.
So, and it's right here on, there's 100 different articles about this.
Yeah.
And it just goes on and on and on, the different types of formats that there are.
Yeah.
Now, YouTube has done some automated closed captioning on their system, and I've watched those before, and they're not that accurate.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I fear will wind up happening here, is that we do support closed captioning, but the only way to do it is to just accept the fact that there's going to be some errors.
Yeah.
That may not be good enough for the ADA, but it may be good enough to keep the industry out of trouble.
Yeah. They say that Tree Play Media says that the cost of captioning can vary from $1 to $27 per minute. That's for an effective, high-quality solution.
Mm-hmm.
And a trained transcriptionist can take around 4 to 5 hours to do 1 hour of content.
Right.
So if you're doing, this show, if we do 90 minutes, that's 7 hours or so. So 7 hours of transcriptionist times, whatever that hourly rate is. Let's say it's $10. So it's $70. Actually, no, more than that. So
Yeah.
again, stuff can be crowdsourced. There's all kinds of different things, but again, then you have to have it in the right format, and you have to have players that support it, which none do. That's another thing.
That's a whole nother. That gets back to what I was saying earlier about the listening platform. There's going to have to be some, there's pushback on that big time from these folks, because you think about web players too,
Mhm.
Todd. I mean, that's a whole other functional component that would have to be added to a web player.
Which, from a web player's perspective, is probably pretty simple. But again, you got to be able to read. What did I say? All those formats. You got to be able to, because everyone's going to do their own thing. It's going to mean, it have to read an SDC, it have to read an SDL, it has to read SRT, it has to read XML, it has to read VTT, and it has to know where that file is at. And the only way we're going to know where that file is at if we make a new tag for RSS.
Right.
And what happens though is most people get their transcripts after they publish their podcast. So then they would have to go back and update. So the transcripts won't. So we'll show like this. Let's say the requirement is we have to have closed caption. Well, this show will be available in 5 days.
Yeah. That's not a huge problem.
Well, for what about my news show?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's a problem.
And that's kind of what this show is to some degree.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of, because broadcast doesn't have that issue. Broadcast, when they do live news, there's someone there typing in the newsroom doing closed captioning.
Yeah.
They're big productions. That's why they have big production costs.
But there's some significant investment going into this space right now from some technology companies.
There is, and we'll see where the accuracy gets. It's all about the accuracy requirement.
Trying to solve this problem. Yeah. So,
but accuracy comes at a price, and I'm just keep saying that again. And people are saying, "Todd, you're stuck on the money." Well,
it comes at a price in either the human editing side, or it comes in a price of technology innovation, right? I mean, got to be some smart people working on this project to solve that problem.
So just so you know, I'm not against. I'm all against accessibility. I'm all for accessibility.
Right.
It's just trying to figure out, because I was like, you're one of the leading podcast companies. How come you're not doing? We have done what we can.
Right. It's not an easy problem to solve.
No, it's not.
And just know that we're all thinking about it, and we've been thinking about it for a while now.
A long time.
It's just that we just haven't been talking about it.
And there's a lawsuit that's went against Gimlet over this.
Yeah, that's what really sparked this whole conversation of trying to talk about it a little bit, is because now it's in the consciousness of the industry.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Anyway, Rob, we're at time here. So
yeah, we are. Okay.
What? I'm sure we missed a whole bunch of stuff, but
of course. But I think we talked about some really important subjects this episode. So I think all the other stuff is kind of minor compared to these big issues. Right.
Now, I will add, Rob, if all of a sudden the requirement is mandated on the tech companies like us to provide a closed caption quality transcript for podcasters, our service pricing has to go up. If we're the ones that are required to provide that.
Yeah. Well, Todd, my worry is kind of broad from the standpoint of, some of the things that we're seeing happen in the industry right now around how the requirements and the things that we have to do as an industry are getting more expensive, right? They're getting more complex, they're getting more challenging, and that's going to make it harder for smaller podcasters to come into the medium, I think, in the long run. So what we're all cognizant of is how we can maintain these requirements versus, making a medium that's difficult for anybody to get involved, right?
So we'll see what some of the big boys do. Maybe they will end up being our solution, and time will tell on this.
Yeah.
But I think
Well,
that
it's up to us to keep pushing them.
there's no, even if it was available today, you probably got 3 to 6 months of work just to get new tags put in place, get the players updated. Even if you started right now, you know. it- So
Yeah, that's true. Well,
okay,
you want to call it a day?
call it a day. If you have comments on today's show, which I'm sure many will, Todd at blueberry.com at Geek News is my email address.
I'm on Twitter at Rob Greenlee, 2 E's, and you can send me an email if you want, robg@lipson.com.
And we will be back on Wednesday again.
Yep.
So I'm available. It works.
Well,
And
I don't know, Todd. I mean, I'll play around with these issues and see what we can do. But I think that the big thing to talk about right now is the events. So
yeah,
that are these big virtual events. So maybe I'll dive into that a little bit.
I've got some deep thoughts on that already. And I think based on I think podcast movement is onto something, having shorter sessions over a longer period. But
Right.
again, attention spans are severely lacking right now. If you're not there, it absolutely unequivocally does not have, for me, the same value. But maybe for content creators out there, it will.
Well, then there's that big show that's pushing out there right now, the podcast show in the UK. Maybe you've talked to them or not, but yeah, that's something that they're trying to do a real world event that's bigger than podcast movement.
Well,
So.
we will see. All right, everybody.
All right.
We'll see you next time here on the New Media Show. Everyone take care. Be safe out there.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.